Hey everyone, Amy here and welcome back. Today we're trying something a little crazy on CSGOFast. We're jumping into a massive 1 versus 1 case battle with 100 cases. Yes, 100 cases in a single battle. We're putting 250 FCoins into this one, so there's quite a lot on the line. We'll go through the entire battle and see what kind of inventory we can build by the end of it. And while all 100 cases are opening, I've got a Reddit story for you about a woman who spent 10 years constantly moving around the world with her husband, until she finally realized that the life they had built together wasn't actually the life she wanted. Before we get into it though, if you're looking for the best CSGOFast promo code 2026, you can use 100F. This CSGOFast promo code gives you a 10% deposit bonus, plus 1 free case to open. Alright, let's start this 100 case battle. So, the woman who wrote this story had been married to her husband for 10 years. According to her, they had a good marriage. They loved each other, supported each other, and spent most of those 10 years chasing the same dream. Financial freedom. Her husband was extremely entrepreneurial. He was constantly finding new opportunities, starting businesses, and looking for ways they could eventually earn enough money without being tied to one location. And she believed in that dream too. But there was one problem. In 10 years of marriage, they had moved 25 times. And move number 26 was already happening. She knew that number 27 probably wasn't far behind. Every time there was a new opportunity, they packed everything and started again. New city, new home, new plan. At first it felt exciting, but after 10 years, she was exhausted. She didn't want anything extravagant. She wanted to unpack her boxes without wondering if she'd need them again in 6 months. She wanted to hang photographs on the walls. She wanted an aquarium. She wanted her cats back, who were living with her parents abroad. Basically, she wanted a home. Meanwhile, her husband had completely burned out. Professionally, he could easily find a very well-paid job, but emotionally, he couldn't handle going back to a regular office. For years, whenever their businesses weren't making enough money, he had been the one who returned to a normal job and supported them financially. Now, he couldn't do it anymore. Their savings were slowly disappearing, and that meant she would probably have to put her own business aside and find a regular job herself. The problem was that she could only earn around a quarter of what her husband could potentially make. She found herself becoming frustrated, not because she expected her husband to support her forever. He believed there would always be time for that later. She wanted to decorate a home, hang paintings on the walls, and build a community around herself. He thought those things were unnecessary. And then she realized something else. Most of the major decisions they'd made during their marriage had actually been his decisions. She hadn't been forced into anything. She had agreed every time. But because he usually earned more money, she never felt like she had the same right to decide where their life was going. Now she did. And suddenly she knew exactly what she wanted. Stability, a home, friends, roots. And her husband wanted exactly what he had always wanted. Freedom, new opportunities, new places, constant movement. Neither of them was necessarily wrong, but their ideas of a good life were completely different. And by the way, if you want to try some openings yourself without immediately jumping into something as ridiculous as a 100 case battle, you can also check out the available CSGOFast free cases. Now, the woman started asking herself a difficult question. If she met her husband today, would she still choose him? She still loved many things about him. He was kind. He remembered the little things that made her happy. He would kiss her whenever he left the room, even if he was only going somewhere for half an hour. But love wasn't solving their fundamental disagreement about how they wanted to live. She had spent years following him around the world, and now, for the first time, she wanted to choose the direction. Eventually, after many conversations and a lot of thinking, she left him. Years later, she returned to Reddit with one final update, and this is probably the most important part of the story. She said that leaving was one of the best decisions she'd ever made. For the first time in her life, she lived alone. She stayed in the same apartment for 5 years. 5 years. After moving 25 times in a decade, there were finally no moving boxes waiting in the corner. She put pictures on the walls. She met her neighbors. She made friends. She built a community. She went back to school and continued developing her career. She went through therapy and began understanding some of the patterns that had shaped her decisions throughout her life. Eventually, she fell in love again. She found work that felt meaningful, and she built the stable life she'd spent years believing was somehow out of reach. She admitted that life still wasn't perfect. There were illnesses, losses, difficult moments, But this time, she had people around her, friends, neighbors, even people at her local coffee shop who recognized her. After spending so many years constantly moving, those simple connections meant more to her than she had ever expected. Looking back, she said that if she could speak to her younger self, she would tell her one thing: trust yourself, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to choose the life you actually want. And I think that's what makes this story interesting. Neither person necessarily started as the villain. They were two people who loved each other and spent years trying to build a shared dream. But eventually, one of them realized that the dream itself no longer made her happy. And sometimes, I think that's harder to accept than simply admitting that a relationship is bad. What do you think? If you were in her position, would you have tried to find another compromise? Or do you think leaving was ultimately the right decision? Let me know in the comments. You know, the more I think about this story, the more complicated it feels, because I don't think either of them necessarily wanted to hurt the other person. They simply reached a point where they wanted completely different things from life. She wanted stability, a home she could actually call her own, friends nearby, and a place where she could finally put down roots. And he wanted freedom, the ability to travel, move somewhere new, and keep searching for the next opportunity. Neither of those choices is wrong on its own, but when you're married, what happens when the future that makes one person happy would make the other person miserable? I think that's the hardest part of this story. So I'm curious what you would have done in her position. Would you have stayed and tried to find some kind of compromise? Maybe agree to settle down for a few years and travel again later? Or do you think she made the right decision by finally choosing the life she actually wanted? Meanwhile, looking at our battle right now, things aren't exactly going the way we hoped. We're still behind, and so far, nothing really big is coming our way. Our opponent is holding the lead, and we're basically chasing them at this point. We really need one serious drop here. Something valuable enough to completely change the situation and put us back in this battle. We've still got cases left, so there's definitely time for things to turn around. But right now, we need that one big pull. One super drop could be enough to suddenly push us ahead and completely change the outcome. So come on, we need something good here. Let's see if one of these next cases can finally give us the drop we need to take the lead and win this battle. Wait, what? Okay, I definitely wasn't expecting that. We just pulled an AK-47 Orbit Mk01, and that completely changes this battle. Just a moment ago, things were looking pretty close, and now suddenly we're almost 100 FCoins ahead. That's a huge difference from just one drop. Okay, I think this deserves a little celebration. Let's send some emotions to our opponent. Actually, let's send a lot of them. There we go. One more. And another one. Sorry, but after a drop like that, I think we're allowed to celebrate a little. We're just going to keep spamming these for a moment so our opponent knows exactly how happy we are right now. I wonder what they're thinking on the other side of this battle. Imagine watching your opponent suddenly pull an AK-47 and jump almost 100 FCoins ahead of you. That's got to hurt. But the battle isn't over yet, so I'm not going to celebrate too early. There's still time for something crazy to happen, and our opponent could always come back with one massive drop. But right now, we're in a very, very good position. That AK-47 Orbit Mk01 might have just become the drop that wins this entire 100 case battle for us. Let's keep going and see if we can hold on to this lead. And now we're down to the final 3 cases. We're almost there. Just a few more openings and this battle is over. At this point, we just need our opponent not to pull something absolutely crazy at the last second. The cases are rolling. The lead is still ours. And now our massive 100 case battle is finally over. We went into this 1 versus 1 battle with 100 cases and spent 250 FCoins in total. And I have to say, this turned out much better than I expected. The most valuable drop we managed to pull was the AK-47 Orbit Mk01. Definitely the MVP drop of this entire battle. But the final result is even more interesting. We spent 250 FCoins on the battle, and the final value of our inventory came out to around 351 FCoins. So that's roughly 101 FCoins more in inventory value than what we put into the battle. For a 100 case, 1 versus 1 battle, that's a seriously strong result. Of course, that's just how this particular battle played out, but this one definitely ended well for us. And if you hit something valuable yourself, you can also check the CSGOFast withdrawal options available on the platform. So 100 cases, 250 FCoins spent, around 351 FCoins in final inventory value, and an AK-47 Orbit Mk01 as our biggest drop. I definitely call that a successful battle. And remember, if you want to try CSGOFast yourself, you can use promo code 100F to get a 10% deposit bonus plus 1 free case. Thanks for spending this time with me. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see another massive case battle like this one. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.